Welcome to Pick Up and Deliver, the podcast where I pick up my audio recorder as I head out for a walk and deliver an episode to you while I stroll around. I'm Brendan Riley. Well, good morning, listeners. It is a lovely sunny day here in suburban Chicago. The weather is nice and cool. I'm in shorts and a t-shirt and I'm very comfortable, in part because it just rained this morning, so you've got that fresh rain smell and blue skies, however, bright blue. It's going to be a great day. I'm not going to spend the day outside. I'm doing schoolwork, but it'll be nice to look out the window, I guess. Maybe I'll do some reading outside. That'll be fun. But it is June 2nd. It is the beginning of a new month, and that means it's time for Top of the Stack. Boo, 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 boo. Top of the Stack is a monthly episode that I do where I talk about the games I've played in the last month, my goals for the coming month, how I did on my goals for last month, and so on. It's kind of a statistics and game review episode. It's a lot of fun. Join us, won't you? I like to, at least, maybe not every month, but often, I do like to remind everybody that I stole the name Top of the Stack from my much beloved and now long out of press podcast, the Podcast of Nonsensical Gamers. They used to do this as a regular feature. So here we go. Let's jump into it. So Top of the Stack episode for June 2022. So this lady backed down the sidewalk, all the way down past the sidewalk. So I was just gonna wait for her to back out. Then she stopped, then backed all the way up the street, up her driveway again, then back down again, and back down till her bumper was over the sidewalk. And then she stopped and then waved me across. I'm like, I don't know what she was doing. And I don't know when she saw me, so that was weird. So excuse me. All right, Top of the Stack, June 2022. So I always begin by reviewing my stats from May. So how did I do in May? It was a little bit lighter gameplay month. I had 55 total plays of 38 different games for a year total so far of 408 plays of 164 games. So doing pretty well there, although I'm a little off my pace if I wanted to do 1,000 plays this year. I didn't set that as a goal or anything, but given my play stats in a couple of the previous months where I was up in the 80s or 90 plays, 55 feels downright paltry. That's just like 2 games a day. Ridiculous. Now, as a reminder, in case you think I'm just living the glory life of playing games on tables all the time, as a reminder, I play a lot of asynchronous games on Board Game Arena and Boîte à Jeux and Yucata.de, and I record all of those as gameplays. So actually, I'd say at least half of my gameplays are from there, if not more. On my shelf of opportunity, I knocked some things off of it, but I also added some things, so it's stayed at 60 games this so far. My collection size expanded by 2 from 540 to 542 games. My most played game this month on the table was Ark Nova with 3 plays, and Through the Ages with 4 plays asynchronous. I've got a nice set of 3 different games going with Chris from the Shuffle Buddies podcast. If you aren't listening to that, you should head over and listen to that. It's great. With Gabriel Edge, and then my regular partner Ray, with whom I have been playing a consistent game for a couple years now, and I've only beaten like 3 times or 5 times or something. So those are my plays. Let's see how I did on Top of the Stack. As a reminder, I pick out 4 games each month that I would like to get played on the table. If I play 3 of them, I consider that a successful month. So this month, the 4 games I picked out were The City, the Thomas Lehman card game, Princes of Florence, the Wolfgang Kramer and Friends classic Euro game, Paradox, and Hunted Kobayashi Tower. Now, 2 of those you know for sure that I've played already because I've talked about them already on the podcast. The third one, Hunted Kobayashi Tower, I did manage to play on Tuesday during the day just to make sure that I got it. So huzzah. I won't talk about that now. I'll talk about it in an upcoming Shooting from the Hip. And then I did not play Paradox yet, but I do want to. I just haven't gotten to it. So 3 of the 4, consider it a successful month. Huzzah. That said, because there were fewer on the table plays than I have had in previous months, you'll find that I did not do very well on playing expansions or playing games out of the dust. In fact, 0 games out of the dust, 0 new expansions played. So that was surprising. I did, however, get to try a bunch of new games this month. I always do. And so here are the new games I tried this month. Many of these I've talked about in my Shooting from the Hip episodes, but I'll remind you of them. So we have Barrage, which is French for dam. We have Mission to Planet Hex, The City, Crosstalk, Princes of Florence, Arc Nova, Crime Zoom, The Gallerist, Vivid Memories, and then two that have not yet appeared, as far as I can remember, on the Shooting from the Hip episodes, and that's Ringmaster, Welcome to the Big Top, a little card game, and Hunted Kobayashi Tower, a solo game from Gabe Barrett. So that brings me up to 56 new to me games tried this year. Feels like if I was on the goal to try 100 new games this year, I'm well on the way to doing that. In fact, I would say I am well on the way to doing that. The Family 10x10 Challenge, on the other hand, is still doing quite poorly. We're up to 19 plays, which is roughly half of where we should be. We should be cresting 40 right now if we wanted to be on track. Or rather, 50 even? 40, because by the end of June, we should be done with 50 games if we want to be on track. So maybe we'll play 30 of our games this month, or what we could see is 80 for the next 7 months. That's maybe possible. We'll see. I did, however, decide to add Arc Nova to the chart. What we're doing this year is, instead of having all 10 there to begin with, we add them as we decide we want to. And so I added Arc Nova and then backdate it. So I've played that 3 times. Or it's what you'd call an organic 10 for 10. Okay, so perhaps the most interesting part of the episode, I really like this part, is the 52 game challenge. As I mentioned before, this is a challenge geek list on Board Game Geek, which includes 52 different weird prompts, and you are supposed to, over the course of a year, play a game that fits each of these prompts and fill it in the spreadsheet or in the geek list. So I did, as I have been doing, meet several of these this month, which I'm feeling pretty good about. And so here they are. Going into this month, I had met 30 of the 52 games in the challenge. So I'm ahead of where I need to be, right? By the end of June, I should be halfway through the 52, which would be 26. And I'm ahead of that, so that's great. And I still have another month to keep going. However, as I mentioned last time, as you go along, they get harder and harder. So until you get to the point where you actually have to go out of your way to find a game that fits the stat, rather than kind of fitting games that you've played into the requirements, which is what I've mostly been doing so far. But here we are. Okay, so play a game with a BGG rank consisting of 2 identical numbers, or at least 2 numbers. So this time around, I noticed that The City, when I was making this list, was rank 2255. And so I counted that one, played it on the 15th of May. Then we have number 36, play a game with a title, parentheses, nobility, in the title. So a title in the title. So they want you to play a game that has nobility. You can see where this is going. The Princes of Florence, May 17th. Play a game that was recommended to you in 2022. The game that I tried in Toggle on the 31st was Ringmaster. And this was a game recommended to me by my friend Brittany, who is a member of our Toggle gaming group. And we played the game a couple times. It is fun. It's a nice little, what'd you call it? I'll talk about it later. But yeah, so Ringmaster is my answer there. That was recommended to me this year. Play a game with a cover where a person is looking away. Now, famously, the main person on the cover of Concordia is looking right at you, and it's not a very attractive picture. It's just generally recognized as being not very good. But there are 2 people on the cover of Concordia. The other person, one of the merchants, is staring off into the distance, looking wistful or remote. And so him doing that means that he's looking away. So Concordia meets the obligation of number 47. Number 48, play a game by a designer whose name does not contain the letters A, T, or Y. And for this one, I counted Las Vegas. It was designed by Rudiger Dorn. The name Rudiger Dorn has none of those letters in it, so it meets the criteria. That was May 10th that I played that. Although I've played that game a couple times this year. It is one of our go-to quick fillers at Toggle, and it's fun. It's a fun filler because it's entirely dice. It's pretty hard to be good at it, I think. You're just lucky. Anyway, that's me. That's my thinking of it. And then finally, play a game with a building in the title. I played Barrage this month, and to English speakers, barrage sounds like attack, but in French, barrage means a dam, like the thing that holds back water. And so Barrage was the name of that game. That is a building. A barrage is a building. And so that's number 49. That means at the end of May, I had played 36 out of the 52 games. That really lightens the load in terms of resolving this thing. 18 more to go over the course of 7 months. So I really can start focusing in. And probably what I'll do is, if I can get, say, 6 in this month, then that leaves 12, and I can just do 2 each month, and I can focus some of the top of the shelf selections to meet these criteria also, and then I'll be doubling up. We'll see how that goes. So my shelf of opportunity, as I said, my goal is to get it down. I'm not doing a great job at that. I'm keeping it steady at the beginning. Well, I mean, I've reduced it a little. At the beginning of the year, it was at 64, and now it's at 60. But like this month, I kept it at 60. Part of that was that I had a Kickstarter come in. The TC Petty game, My Father's Work, arrived, and I'm super excited to try that. I don't know when I'll get to, because it needs a digital app in order to play, and they haven't finished the digital app yet. Oopsie doops. I think they said by the end of the month they expect to have it, so I did not put it on my list for this month because I don't know if I'll get to play it, but for next month maybe. So that's My Father's Work. And then I stopped by our local thrift store, and I was able to pick up a copy of the classic Quirkle. I picked up a copy of the Penny Arcade deck building game, Rumble and Riley, and I picked up a copy of Throw Burrito. So all 3 of those went on my shelf of opportunity, and thus bloated it again. Meanwhile, I did remove some games from the shelf of opportunity that I had talked about, particularly The City, Princes of Florence, Ark Nova. So I removed, Ark Nova came in. Oh no, that wasn't this month. So yeah, I removed 3, I added 3, or I added 4. Oh, 5, because I also added My Father's Work, which wasn't purchased this month, but arrived, which means that my collection size went up by, I removed 3, I added 5, so it should have gone up by 2. I added 3 games, I removed 3 games, so my shelf of opportunity stayed the same at 60. My collection size, however, went up by 2 because I added 5 games, Ark Nova, Quirkle, Throw Burrito, Penny Arcade, and My Father's Work. And I gave away 1 game, Lifeboat, and then I had 2 other games where, as I was going through my collection or doing something on Board Game Geek, I noticed that the game was still marked owned, even though I had sold it or traded it or given it away. So like, for instance, I think one of them was Tokaido. My collection reflected that I still had Tokaido, but in fact I don't. I sold that a while ago. And there was one other game that was in a similar situation. So between those 2 and the one I gave away, that's 3 games off my collection, but I added 5, so my collection size is 542 at the end of this month. Well, so as we're moving into June, the question is, what games am I going to play in June? I thought I would give another try to the classic. Almost every month I put this on here, it seems like, but it's been a couple months since I took it off, so I'll try it again. It's Tichu, one of these days. I'd like to try Quirkle since I bought it. Paradox is definitely going to get played sometime soon. And the top choice, the game that I'm going to do, is a game I ordered but haven't received yet, and that's The Magnificent. I have been doing pretty good about not randomly buying games. I've only been buying games on plan, or if I find them at thrift stores, so it's like, just $2 or $3. Except that Miniature Market had a very cool looking sale. I went and looked, and they had a bunch of stuff that was attractive, and Glass Road was back in stock, and that's been a grail game for me for a while, or it's been a almost purchase. And then I noticed they were selling The Magnificent, which is a game I've really liked the look of and been really interested in, for $24, which is normally a $60 game. I was like, oh, and then they had the expansion too. And they also had a deal where if you spent a certain amount, then you got a $20 credit for your next purchase. So they got me. So I bought a couple games, and those are coming. I also bought the Bureau of Investigations, which is the next game in the Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective line. Ironically, it's not Sherlock Holmes. It's a game in that series that works the way that those games do. But instead of being about Sherlock Holmes, it's about kind of Arkham type investigations. So looking forward to that. Hopefully it'll be better than Mythos Tales was. I guess the big joke on me would be if it turns out it is just Mythos Tales repackaged. That would really stink. But I looked, I didn't see anything saying it was. So what games do you have on the top of the stack of your stack this month? What games are you going to be playing? Head over to Board Game Geek Guild 3269 and share your thoughts. I'd also like to hear what you think of the games that I played this month. Have you played them before? Do you enjoy them? Etc., etc. You can also send me a direct mail. Wombat929 is my username at BoardGameGeek, or you can email me, brendan@rattleboxgames.com. I'd love to play an asynchronous game with you. You can find me on Board Game Arena, Boîte à Jeux, or yukata.de using the handle Wombat929 in any of those places. Over at Board Game Arena, we actually have a community group for pick up and deliver fans where you can connect with other people who listen to the podcast and play games with them. So thanks for joining me on my walk today. I hope that your next walk is as pleasant as mine was. Bye-bye.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games.